Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Gaur Premanandi Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajapacharya Ashtata Satashlesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Ananta Kota Vaishnavinda Ki Namacharya Shahridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Ganga Maya Ki Yamuna Maya Ki Tulasi Deva Ki Bhakti Deva Ki Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Lord Chaitanya Sariram Sankirtan Ki Brihat Madanga Ki Srila Prabhupada Ki Shri Shri Gauranitai Ki, Shri Shri Panchatattva Ki, Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki, Go Premanande! All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Devi. Gauravani Prachadine Nirvasesha Sunyavadi. Astachade Shatarine. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar. Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bonjour. Good morning, everybody from France. Some of you are an evening if you're in Australasia, and some of you very early morning if you're in America, and some in the middle of the day, I guess, if you're in India, Malaysia, like that. Wherever you are, we wish you a good day, and apologies for yesterday. We cancelled yesterday's class at quite late notice because of circumstances beyond our control, and today we're happy to be with you on this Zoom Sangha. And today we will be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. And I didn't give Rasikananda Prabhu prior notice, so he may not be able to put it up. I don't know, but we're reading from the fourth canto, chapter 22, text 46. And this is a verse spoken by one great king named Prithu Maharaj. And I've been reading this section over the last few weeks from the Bhagavatam. So I didn't get around to prepare anything specific today. So I thought we would just read Bhagavatam from where we're reading, more or less. And today's verse is text number 46 of the 22nd chapter of the fourth canto. 4:22:46, and maybe Rasik will not put it up, but if you have your own books, you can, or on your own mobile or something. But it looks like Rasikananda Prabhu may be sharing the screen with us in a few moments, Krishna willing. And it's very interesting also because if you have received the new Back to Godhead magazine for March, April, I can't do anything, that's his screen. For March, April, you may have noticed, and it's coincidence, it's not there was anything planned, but two of the articles in the Back to Godhead magazine are about Prithu Maharaj. And so maybe it's something in the air right now. We have to remember Prithu Maharaj. Some of you may never have heard of Prithu Maharaj or heard of him but don't know much about him. Well, you won't find much out about him in today's class because we'll be talking about a subject matter related to Prithu Maharaj more than about Prithu Maharaj, maybe a little bit, but not too much. But anyway, if you really want to find out, read the Bhagavatam, or if you, by the way, there's a bit of a book distribution, we say line here, plug. Some of you are already receiving the Back to Godhead magazine on a regular basis, and some don't, and some don't want to, and it's fine. But if anyone does want to receive a bi-monthly subscription to the Back to Godhead magazine, which isn't what it was, of course, in the 70s. The Back to Godhead magazine now is basically a kind of in-house congregational magazine, more or less. But if you want, you can order. If you want, I can also arrange it for you. Annual subscription if you'd like to get the originally started by Prabhupada. And it would be nice to see it revitalized again at some point of time as the backbone of ISKCON, as the main. I mean, there was a time in 1976 the BBT was printing or publishing 1 million Back to Godheads a month for Sankirtan. It was really a major, say, instrument in our preaching in those days. But if you like to at least get what is available now, you can write to me if you wish, if you don't know otherwise how to do it. But get to a Back to Godhead subscription. It's nice. They're definitely doing the best they can. It's a very nice magazine. I get it myself. Okay, back to Prithu Maharaj. Well, this week we've had the, let's say, quite, say, big news in ISKCON of the passing away of Pankajangari Prabhu, as I guess everyone's aware, who was a very dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada for almost a good part of 50 years serving in Mayapur, most of that time engaged in worshipping the deities, along with his twin brother, Jananivas Prabhu. So Pankajangari Prabhu left the world this year. Jananivas is still there in Mayapur. Krishna took him away. It was a big loss for us. It's not so much for him. Some say, oh, I'm sure he went back to Godhead. I said, he's already back to Godhead. It's not a question of going there. He was already there. In his heart. He's in Mayapur. And has been in Mayapur almost since the day he joined. Anyway, it's we're the ones who are lost because we don't get the opportunity to associate with him as before. If ever you went to Mayapur, knowingly or unknowingly, you will have had his association, either on the Nrsingadev altar or somewhere in the kirtan, in the class, etc. So, Hare Krishna. There's another opportunity for us to realize the importance of this human form of life. We can't afford to lose this opportunity which we have. Death may come at any moment. And it's not something which is, why you're so negative or pessimistic. It's a reality, and it's very positive because we are trying to prepare ourselves for that time. It's not that that's like a constant meditation or as if it's something separate from devotional service. It's not. The process of devotional service is the preparation. Pankajangari Prabhu taught us how to die by being completely absorbed in chanting the holy names throughout his life and worshipping the deities in Mayapur and being fully engaged, because we can't imitate such great souls, but he was fully engaged in devotional service. Never a spare moment for anything but service. These two twin brothers are living examples of full-time devotees. Mantra Yoga Vicharana Bhakti Yogena Sevate Sugunan Samatikchaitan Brahmabhuya Kalpate. Those who are fully engaged in devotional service, who do not fall down under any circumstances, they can transcend the three modes of nature and come to the spiritual platform. So the fully engaged in devotional service is practically speaking, the key. To be fully engaged and not to fall down. Or even if we do fall down, and there's no loss, there's no loss on this path, even if one does slip in one's endeavors to become Krishna conscious sometimes. There's no loss, and one will certainly come back again to the path of bhakti. But for those who don't pursue the path of bhakti, what is the gain? Other paths do not lead to our relationship with Krishna. Path of bhakti is the means by re-establishing our relationship with Krishna. Pankajangari Prabhu showed the essence of that service attitude by 24 hours engaged in devotional service, without speculating, without deviations, etc. So let's read the translation and purport of the verse I've selected, which I think is now on the screen. Let me just double check we're on the right verse. Yeah. Svam eva brahmano bhukte svang vaste svang dadati cha tasyaivano bunjate kshatriyadayaha. And we can chant all together. I won't hear you, but you can chant at home. Svam eva brahmano bhukte svang vaste svang dadati cha tasyaivano gahenanam bunjate kshatriyadayaha. And we can go for the translation, the word for word rather, synonyms. Prabhupada's translation, synonyms, translation, and purport. Excuse me. Svam, own, eva, certainly, brahmana, the Brahmin, bhunkte, enjoy, svam, own, vaste, clothing, svam, own, dadati, gives in charity, cha, and, tasya, his, eva, certainly, anugrahena, by the mercy of, anum, food grains, bunjate, eats, kshatriyadaya, other divisions of society, headed by the Kshatriyas. Nice. And the translation, Asika, translation to this verse. So Prithu Maharaj is talking to the 4 Kumaras who have come. A little bit on the story we'll mention afterwards, because otherwise you'll be just looking at this verse for 10 minutes. So Prithu Maharaj says the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras eat their food by virtue of the Brahmins' mercy. It is the Brahmins who enjoy their own property, clothe themselves with their own property, and give charity with their own property. Okay, but Prabhupada will explain this verse nicely in the purport. It's a verse to help us to maybe become a little less proud or attached, like that. Deflate our false egos a little bit. And we need to have a bit of deflation. There's too much inflation going on. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is worshipped with the words Namo Brahmanya Devaya, which indicate that the Supreme Personality accepts the Brahmins as worshipable gods. The Supreme Lord is worshipped by everyone, yet to teach others, he worships the Brahmins. Everyone should follow the instructions of the Brahmins, for their only business is to spread Shabda Brahma, or Vedic knowledge, all over the world. Whenever there is a scarcity of Brahmins to spread Vedic knowledge, chaos throughout human society results. Since Brahmins and Vaishnavas are direct servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they do not depend on others. This is the basic independence of the Brahmins. And many points Prabhupada is mentioning here. When there's a scarcity of Brahmins, chaos. This is what's going on right now. Hold the screen, don't go down any further. Chaos is taking place. There's no Brahminical head on society nowadays. Maybe they have their House of Lords or their advisory committees, etc., but they're not Brahmins. This doesn't just mean persons with threads around their necks or consider themselves born in that, but those who have the qualities of purity, so they can see things for what they are and what they're meant to be. But there are no such heads in society today. Society is being basically run by persons of Shudra mentality, and a few of them have Vaishya tendencies, few Kshatriyas, if any. The leaders could no way you could describe the leaders of society today as Kshatriyas. Even though they're taking leadership roles, they do not have the qualities mentioned by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Bhagavatam also. So this is, thus you have, without a head on the body, you have a problem. You have a real problem. but the body will collapse. So similarly, modern society without a proper head is going nowhere. It's like a crazy, sometimes without a head, some living entities move around, but they move in no proper order. They were crazy. So modern society does not know where it is going, or what the purpose of what we're doing really is, or what the result of what we're doing is in most cases. Experimenting from everything from the vaccine to the education to the penal codes to science to nutrition, everything. Process theories in process, practicing various things to try to see what happens. And it's a risk factor also, besides the factor that it's not actually getting us anywhere really. I mean, just existing, for what reason? What's the purpose of human life? It's just to exist for a few years and then not to exist anymore? Any intelligent person would question that. Is that really the purpose of our existence? Just to exist and then die and that's it, finished? Or somehow or another you go to heaven or hell or something. Is that really the purpose of our lives? Questions should be asked. So without Brahmins who's supposed to know the purpose of life, society tends to follow somebody's idea of what the purpose of life is. The purpose of life is to do what I say. I am the boss. You work for me. And if you don't, you're in trouble. Or maybe the purpose of life is to enjoy as much as you can while you can. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you may die. So this isn't the goal of life. Brahmins and Vaishnavas, what happened? We missed something there. I think some line was missed out, isn't it? Let me see. Let me go to my book. Chaos. Where's that word? Chaos. Can't even see it. Where is it? Where is it? All over the world. Yeah, their purpose is to spread Vedic knowledge all over the world. That's the business of the Brahmins, is not to sit in a business office or to executive heads of society. No, their business is to spread Vedic knowledge all over the world. Otherwise, chaos results. Since Brahmins and Vaishnavas are direct servants of the Supreme Lord, they do not depend on others. This is another aspect of a Brahmin or the Vaishnavas. They may appear to be depending on others. Oh, you're begging. We're giving you money, they say. Huh? We're providing. Where'd you get your money from? People sometimes ask. Where do you get your money from? Huh? Many times, even Prabhupada, they used to ask you, where did you get all this money for such fabulous things that you have? Huh? So many big temples this time. Where did you get your money from? But we generally refer to, we're selling books. Selling books. You say, you're begging. Whatever. It's just never satisfied some people. But now we're here, the answer, where do we get our money from? Well, in this verse, it's quite interesting. It says, it is the Brahmins who enjoy their own property. We may not be Brahmins, at least not by quality. But they enjoy their own property. But what property do the Brahmins have? They're not working. They're not working day and night. They're not even getting money from the, in England we call it the dole, the social security. Maybe they are, but they're not. Those who are fully engaged may not be. So where do you get your money from? People would be happier if you said, oh, I'm on the social security. I get money from the government. Okay, then. Rather than, we're depending on Krishna. We distribute books and we go on the streets and people give donations. That's begging. That's not good. Get a job. People don't understand anything, literally anything of the truth, literally. They think that this is ours, that this wood is ours to do what we want with it. So many ignorances there, so much ignorance. So the Brahmin's duty is to travel, preach, and distribute this knowledge of the truth, and not to keep people in the darkness. But unfortunately, there's this age particularly, The world is covered in darkness of ignorance. We'll read on. Since they're not depending on others. If they give or they don't give, they're satisfied. They know Krishna provides what they need, preserves what they lack. They have faith. They're not demanding. They may be, trying to encourage us to use their time and serve their wealth and their energy in Krishna's service. But of themselves, they have nothing to worry. Completely satisfied, no matter what happens. And Prabhupada goes on, in actuality, everything in the world belongs to the Brahmins. And this is quite an interesting statement, isn't it? In actuality, everything in the world belongs to the Brahmins. And out of their humility, the Brahmins accept charity from the Kshatriyas or kings and the Vaishyas or merchants. It's amazing. Out of their humility, they accept. It doesn't sound like it. It's from an ordinary point of view. But, we'll hear more about that in a minute. Everything belongs to the Brahmins, but the Kshatriya government and the mercantile people keep everything in custody, like bankers. And whenever the Brahmins need money, the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas should supply it. It is like a savings account with money which the depositor can draw out at his will. Maybe not so easy today, in this day and age, to do that, but that's the principle at least. They tend to question you a lot now if you want to put money in and draw money out. Control systems have changed, but normal situation is that they're just keeping your money, and anytime you want to withdraw it, you can. Maybe you can still in some places, but some places there's a lot of restrictions. The Brahmins, being engaged in the service of the Lord, have very little time to handle the finances of the world. And therefore the riches are kept by the Kshatriyas or the kings, who are to produce money upon the Brahmins' demand. Quite the opposite. They want to take it away. You find out the devotees or the whatever are collecting money, then you have to pay tax, you have to pay this, pay that. They don't know. They don't know anything about God. They have no faith at all in the existence of a supreme person. And thus to become greedy and lusty and manipulative and envious and so on and so forth, because their hearts are dirty. Human society is meant for God realization. It's meant to, not for sense gratification, but for inquiring into the nature of the absolute truth. And that's where we go normally, to the Brahmins, just like the four Kumaras came to Prithu Maharaj, and he completely felt enlightened in their association. So they don't live at the cost of others at all, as it says here. They live by spending their own money, although it appears that they are collecting the money from others. Well, how the Brahmin sees it, does he see it? Maybe some Brahmins see it like that too, or Vaishnavas. They see, this is mine. But the view of Brahmin or Vaishnava will not see it as mine. They see it as Krishna's. And when people give charity, they simply want to use it for the pleasure of Krishna, making some festival or making some nice outfits for the deity or whatever it may be, but utilizing it for the pleasure of Krishna, not for their own pleasure. Just because one happens to be, a so-called Brahmin or whatever by birth, that doesn't really mean very much. They have to show how to utilize everything we have for the pleasure of Krishna. And of course, they have to practice what they preach. Otherwise, there will be no benefit, practically speaking. So here's an aspect here that they are simply collecting money for whatever belongs to the Brahmins. They live by spending their own money, although it appears that they are collecting money from others. It belongs to them, and they're simply returning it to Krishna, because Krishna is the supreme proprietor. Everything belongs to Krishna, and the Brahmins are those who offer everything to Krishna. So it's such an important thing to return the property. Otherwise, we are subjected to karma because we've taken someone else's property and claimed it as my own. Even in ordinary systems of society, if you take someone's possession and claim it as your own, then you're subject to punishment. But every living entity in the universe is, to some degree, we're doing this. We're taking God's property and claiming it as mine. This is my body. I can do what I like with it. Well, it's hard to get through to somebody who thinks like that, of course, but in reality, even our own body doesn't belong to us. What to speak of others, the bodies of our family members, etc., do not belong to us. They belong to Krishna. Our wealth, our house, our car, our dog, everything belongs to Krishna, even our mobile phone. Well, I wonder what Krishna's going to do with all these mobile phones. Everyone comes to the temple offering their mobile phones to the deities. But everything belongs to Krishna. I remember one funny incident, some of you have heard this story. This is going back to approximately 1975 in the manor, Bhaktivedanta Manor. At that time, I was very busy at the manor, not doing many services, but one service, that was probably when I was temple commander, actually, was to sort out all the flowers when they come from the market. Maybe it wasn't my service, but I would do it if it need be. And so that day I was sorting out all the flowers from the market, which was in a side room annexed to the temple room. And, and then suddenly I came out the door of the annex and had a shock. I gave Bhagavatam that morning class. The subject matter was surrendering everything to Krishna. Gave everything to Krishna. So there was one young hippie boy who was attending the program that morning. Maybe he was intoxicated, I don't know. But he was there. And I came out of the annex and there was this boy in front of, everyone had gone for breakfast. Only he was in the temple room. And he was stood before Radha Gokulananda completely naked. Not even a sock on his body. And he was holding all of his clothes and offering them to Radha Gokulananda. Smelly socks, torn jeans, dirty t-shirt, everything. He's offering it to Radha Gokulananda. Wow. He really understood the class this morning. So not quite. You have to go a little bit, let's say, a little bit more intelligently than that. Understanding what it means. It means to do what Krishna likes, acting for his pleasure. It's a nice sentiment, I'm sure. Like a little baby may offer the deity a stone and a stick and, bits and pieces, because he sees the mother and father bringing offerings to the deity. So the little child comes forth, he's found some dirt and some sticks and stones, and he puts it on the altar before Krishna. And you may think, well, this crazy boy, but actually Krishna's very pleased. He's offered what he's got or what he thinks he can do. As far as his understanding goes, he's making an offering. So in one sense, that young man made maybe that's all he had to his name, I don't know. But he was offering it to Krishna. But we offer our hearts, our intelligence, mind, everything in the service of Krishna, including our so-called property, so-called wealth, etc. Kshatriyas and Vaishyas have no right to give charity. Now, there's a good one for those who are misers, because here Prabhupada says, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas have no right to give charity. For whatever they possess belongs to the Brahmins. So in one sense, it may not be stolen. It may have been given to them by the Brahmins in one sense, but in one sense, it's stolen property. And you're giving away stolen property doesn't make you innocent from stealing it in the first place. It's not ours to give away. It used to be a typical trick. I remember when I was treasurer of the manor, many times devotees would try to get around us. We were pretty tight as treasurers. And they spend their own money first and then come back asking for refunds and bring in the receipts with them. We would never buy it. Sorry, we don't do things like that. You would ask first before you can spend. Don't just spend and then ask. Do something. It's a common thing in the world. We do something and then we ask afterwards. Ask first. find out if rightfully first, we're not the proprietor, it doesn't belong to us, this money, etc. doesn't belong to us, it belongs to Krishna. So one has to ask Krishna's representative first before deciding what to do. And same thing with this human life. Human society was divided and arranged in such a way that the Brahmins would give good advice to the people so that they wouldn't make crazy mistakes. Nowadays, people get their wage packet, whatever day of the week it is, Thursday, Friday or something, they don't get a wage anymore. Packet, they get it through the bank. But whatever it is, it comes into their so-called possession. And then the next day, many times they go on a spending binge. Spend, shops. And they buy any kind of rubbish, practically speaking. So many shops just selling unnecessary items. And then they spend money sometimes on liquor and cigarettes, all kinds of things. Go into a restaurant spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars in the restaurant just on a couple of meals. And they go here and there, just so-called to enjoy themselves. Yes, but this is symptomatic of this age which we live in. They don't know what to do with their time, their wealth, their energy, etc. Because no one is giving them proper advice. The business-minded people are very happily selling rubbish to the people, paying them to work and then selling them the products back. So it goes into a circle in such an extent that people end up in mortgages and this thing and that thing, and they're bound for life in this vicious cycle. And unless the Brahmins and Vaishnavas preach the purpose of human life, this cycle will not, it will only get worse and worse and worse, spiraling down. A big responsibility. Why everything belongs to the Brahmins? Because they know that everything belongs to Krishna and they are the ambassadors or representatives of Krishna. So consequently, on behalf of Krishna, this word is, basically speaking, is meant to be guided by the Brahmins, who, as Prabhupada says here, where are we? Let's see, it appears they're clicking. I think we've gone forward from this. Unfortunately, in the present moment, we read this, I think. Although everything belongs to Brahmins and Kshatriyas, the Kshatriyas keep everything in custody, and wherever the Brahmins need, whenever they need money, they supply it. The Kshatriyas are supposed to supply, like a savings account, Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada says, the Brahmins, being engaged in the service of the Lord, have very little time to handle the finance of the world. More important activity. They're engaged in preaching Krishna consciousness, studying the Vedas, preaching Krishna consciousness for the welfare of others. And people don't appreciate this. They see this as useless waste of time, not producing anything. You just, what is this? What's the use of all this philosophy? Get real, they say. We have to live in the real world, but this is not the real world. This world is called asat. It is unreal. It does exist, but it's unreal in the sense that we think that this is the real world. And we think this is me and this is mine. This is the illusion. This is Maya. It's not the world that's Maya necessarily. It's the fact that we're seeing it as Maya. The world does exist, be it temporary or not. But it's our illusion, this is the Maya, that we see this material world is either a reality or a non-existent at all, if we were Mayavadi or something. But either way, this is illusion. We have to see it as Krishna's energy, and the purpose of human life is to learn how to utilize this human life, or how to understand everything belongs to Krishna, how to utilize everything for the pleasure of Krishna. He is the owner, and everything should be done according to his will. That's the idea. They're spending their money. It appears that they are collecting money from others. Kshatriyas and Vaishnavas have no right to give charity because whatever they possess belongs to the Brahmins. Therefore, charity should be given by the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas under the instruction of the Brahmins. They should be given, not like now where people give charity to some cause, it never gets there, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. And the welfare is simply to increase the karma of the recipient. It doesn't deliver them from karma, increases their karma in most cases, and is completely under the modes of nature, many times indulging people in sinful activity, educating them in ignorance, feeding them with untouchable foods, maintaining their lives longer so they can commit more sins, etc., isn't really welfare work. It's actually disservice in reality, although people don't know it. So education is so important, but the education has to be useful education and not binding education. Now, as the education system is basically to train people to become instruments in the system and bound up in the modes of nature, to identify themselves with the body, identify themselves as the doer, as the proprietor, and so on. But at the same time, being under control of whoever the leaders may be. So there's no real freedom, there's no real people don't have real free will in this world. They're conditioned by their environments. And the Brahmin's business is to help people become free of conditioning, not further bind them up. The situation today is very, let's say, unbecoming and very unwelcome situation which we live in. Unfortunately, at the present moment, Prabhupada says, therefore, charity should be given by the Kshatriyas and Vaishnavas under the instruction of the Brahmins. Of course, the Brahmins may not say, give it to me, but the Kshatriyas should give the charity to the Brahmins normally. Unfortunately, because that means feeding the root. Otherwise, giving charity to this one and that one is like simply watering the leaves of a tree. We have to water the root of the tree, and the Brahmins represent that root. They are the connection with Krishna. So we have to serve the Brahmins and not just use our energy just to water the leaves of the tree. That will not do any good in the long run. It may look nice, but it won't do any good in the long run. Unfortunately, at the present moment, there is a scarcity of Brahmins. And since there is no one to advise the Kshatriya and Vaishyas, the wood is in a chaotic condition. And so we've already mentioned that. The body without a head is chaotic. The second line of this verse indicates that Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras can eat only by virtue of the Brahmin's mercy. In other words, they should not eat anything which is forbidden by the Brahmins. Because eating is a very important part of everyone's life, more or less. All species of life, all genders, generations, races, you name it. Pretty much everyone is very indulgent in eating. It's one of, maybe I don't know in terms of relativity, but it's practically speaking the most important activity that most people indulge in is eating. And so much energy expended on eating in every half of so much of the world, earth, planet, land, is covered by areas to produce food for human beings and maybe others too, but especially humans. So much energy is there to produce food because it's so important. We can't live without food. But here we see that people shouldn't eat unless it's directed by the Brahmins, because eating is so important. We eat untouchable foods. We have to suffer the consequence. Food should be offered. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, if we don't offer our food, then we're eating only sin. Well, we may see, well, I'm just eating an apple, but still, it's some kind of offering, recognition should be there. That's that this is Krishna's apple. This belongs to Krishna, it should be offered to Krishna. This is the simple. It doesn't take long to offer one's food to Krishna, maybe a little self-restraint, not to eat it before it's offered or something, or not to, oh, wow, oh, smell that halava. Oh, smells really good, huh? Look at that. No, Vaishnava doesn't. He wants Krishna. Offer it to Krishna. Then once it's offered, then it can be distributed to everyone. This is the real welfare. They don't eat anything which is not offered to the Lord. They eat only prasadam, remnants of food offered to the Lord. Where are we now? We got okay, sorry, the screen is coming. There it goes. The Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras should only eat Krishna prasadam, which is afforded them by the mercy of the Brahmins. Yeah, because they offer it to Krishna. They show us how to offer it to Krishna. And Krishna is given the food, and the Brahmins are there to tell us what to do with the food. They may not produce it, they may not manage its distribution, but they're here to tell us what to do with the food, what to do with their wealth, what to do with their human life. And scriptures are also there, they go hand in hand, guiding us what to do in this human form of life. However, if they don't get this instruction, then they cannot, the Prabhupada says here, these Kshatras and Vaishyas, they cannot open slaughterhouses and eat meat, fish, or eggs, or drink liquor, or earn money for this purpose without authorization. People just go about, they think they're in control. We can do what we like, we make our own laws. Tax people according to our whims. Do what we like with it. They act whimsically. They don't follow any useful guidance. They may have their parliaments where they discuss things, but what's the point of such an assembly when they're in ignorance of the goal of life? We don't want to use the words that Prabhupada uses here necessarily, but Prabhupada uses some pretty strong words sometimes to describe the nature of such so-called leaders, because they don't know what they're doing. They're just trying to keep the chaos going in a different way, maybe, but the same thing going on, as they have no knowledge of anything else. In the present age, because society is not guided by rabbinical instruction, the whole population is only absorbed in sinful activity. And it's very hard for people to give this up. And even amongst ourselves, we sometimes find it very hard to give things up. Some devotees still intoxications, illicit sex, very strong. Many people, meat eating is impossible to give up practically. What to speak of gambling? Gambling for many people, they don't really know quite what that's got to do with us, but there's many aspects to gambling. But even if we take the sort of the most common, you're gambling on the horses or roulette or some gambling casino or something, it is extremely addictive. Extremely. I can only speak from others' experience, but they tell me it's so addictive, harder than any of the other habits once you get hooked on gambling. It really is an addiction. And then people borrow money and borrow money and borrow money because they lose their money gambling and they end up in big trouble. It's such a crazy thing. And many people commit suicide over gambling. Many. So it's another, let's say, major area or activity which is so detrimental to human beings, but it's become more or less accepted in most parts of the world as a necessity and a norm. Consequently, everyone is deservedly being punished by the laws of nature. This is the situation in this age of Kali. Okay, we finished the purport. So this is a Kali Yuga situation based upon ignorance. So whether the main symptom of Kali Yuga, you can stop screen sharing, and we'll go back on open screen. In this age of Kali, the age of hypocrisy, the age of cheating, materialistic age going on. It's just the nature of this age. And we could say the only for the sake of another word, the only activity going on to counter this tendency, practically speaking, is the Sankirtan movement. Others are more inclined to facilitate within it, to make life more comfortable within it. This Sankirtan movement may be byproducts of that are there, but the primary aspect of this Sankirtan movement is to deliver us from it. And in the proper way, not just to negate it, but to be delivered from it, to become anashta karma palam karyam karma karotya sannyasi yogicha no niragnira kshatriya. That we become detached from the fruits of the work. Not from the work so much in a sense, we're doing that for Krishna, but the fruits of the work must be offered to Krishna. And Vaishnava's business is to do that and show others how to do it. To show others how to also offer the fruits of their work or the work itself as an offering to Krishna. So that's the preaching of a devotee, is to show others how to utilize this human life for the pleasure of Krishna. A very nice purport by Srila Prabhupada, and a very enlightening one, to understand that we really don't have anything. We may be attached to our things, but ultimately everything belongs to Krishna, and it belongs to the Brahmins and Vaishnavas. We say, oh, I'm a Brahmin, I'm a Vaishnava, whatever. But a Brahmin and Vaishnava don't think them. They'll act on that platform. They don't really think themselves as such. They certainly are not going to use whatever charity comes its way. They're not going to use it for sense gratification. Their purpose is to use it for the welfare or the benefit of society. But in this Kali Yuga, the Brahmins are misused. In most cases, have been misusing their whatever, not really wealth in large amount at least, but whatever they've gotten. Some of them have gotten a lot of money. Some of them have got a lot of facilities. Some of them have got a lot of followers. So many things. That all has to be offered to Krishna. But if they use it otherwise, then it's a great deviation again. And they have to teach us this thing, and we have to learn that everything is not just Ishavashimidam Sarvam Yatkinchaja Gacham, to get the property of Krishna. Everything should be utilized. Krishna has given us our quota. As Ishopanishad said, we should take our quota and not try to take that of others. The quota means we're all individuals. We have our own individual natures. We may get, according to our karma, various returns for our endeavors. But whatever we've got in life, that's our quota. And that should be utilized in Ishavasyam society for the pleasure of Krishna, the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, not for sense gratification. Human life is not meant for sense gratification. Dharma says, oh, I forgot. I'm a little tired this morning with sleepless nights. But anyway,
Kamasya Indriyapati.
Louder.
Kamasya Indriyapati Labo Jivita Yavata.
Kamasya Indriyapati Labo Jivita Yavata Jivasya Tattva Jignasa Nartayasya Karma Bihi. Life's desire should never be utilized, or this life should never be utilized for sense gratification. One should live a healthy life, taking what one needs only for one's maintenance of family, etc. But the main point of human life should be Jivasya Tattva Jignasa, inquiry into the absolute truth. That should be the goal of our work. Not that we utilize it for Dharmasya Apivargasya, Natayapa. Anyway, other verses there also, that we should utilize these things for sense gratification. It's like we should utilize samsiddhir haritoshnam, takpumbir dvichasheshta, varnashrama vibhagashas, nisitasya dharmasya samsiddhir haritoshnam. We should utilize these gifts. If we're a Vaishya or Kshatriya or Shudra or Brahmin, it doesn't matter. Everything in society, everything in our lives should be used for samsiddhir haritoshnam, for the pleasure of Vishnu. And then everything will become auspicious. The Sanktam movement brings auspicity, he uses this word, auspicity to the whole world, the most auspicious thing. Of course, we have to be careful and remember always that whatever we have is by the mercy of Krishna and the devotees, so we don't become proud, thinking I'm the doer, I'm great, I'm this, I'm that, maintaining our own philosophies of life, and so on. We have to surrender, means we have to let go of all. Krishna said, give up all these philosophies, give up all these attachments, give them all up, surrender to me. So this is what's being taught. And that's what the Brahmins are supposed to, step by step, maybe not all at once, but step by step, the path of surrender. The path of surrender. So we become released. It's like if we don't surrender, we may get shot or arrested or something. But in ordinary deeds, surrender. Sometimes we've been in wars and we use surrender. We should get shot. So we surrender, not that we're cowards, but the real thing is surrender means to come to our senses. It's not cowardly. It's a great case, a great faith, a case, a great, you could say, a heroic act to take shelter of Krishna. Depend on Krishna, but that's the path of freedom. That's the path of peace. That's the path of real happiness, is to surrender. Stop trying to mold everything for me or us, but everything should be molded for Krishna. Surrender to Krishna, use everything for Krishna. Then, only then, Gyatva-mam Shantim Vichiti, can we be peaceful? Krishna says also, I protect you from all sinful reactions, free you from fear, no need to fear anymore. This is the path of surrender. So Prithu Maharaj is surrendering to the Kumaras. The Kumaras are surrendering to Krishna. The citizens in Prithu Maharaj's kingdom surrender to him. In this way, everyone is surrendering ultimately to Krishna. This is how society ideally would be. We don't have an ideal example very much, if any, in this world today. But ideally, this should be the case, that every single person will be satisfied with what they have in a society which is Krishna conscious. The missing link, as Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj said, in this world, there's nothing missing in this world except Krishna consciousness. That's the only thing lacking. So that's the duty of the Vaishyas. That's the purpose of this Sankirtan movement. It's not, our purpose is not to become Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, this or that. If we are, we are. But its purpose is not to become. We are what we are. Our purpose is to be Krishna conscious, no matter what we may be according to our karmas, to become Krishna conscious and to teach others that they also can become Krishna conscious, being what they are. By learning how to utilize what we've been given, what belongs to Krishna, how to learn to utilize that in his service. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now I'm going to open up for questions. I have a class in the temple a little later on. And anyway, we don't want to give excuses, but we'll open up. If anyone would like to ask any questions, please do. Maybe there's something I don't know. How do we know what is our allowed quota in life? Our allotted quota. It's the same thing as allowed, really. What is our quota? It's a very difficult thing in Kali Yuga to ascertain, because society is not arranged in such a way as to help people to understand this. There's certain things we can pick up on. Different living entities. The quota doesn't only refer to, let's see, most people say quota. They often refer to a wage or amount of what you receive, from whatever, from one's work or one's government or something. What is your quota? Sometimes they use the word quota to refer to achievement. You have a quota to produce so and so much. Usually it's used in that sense and to describe quantitative factors, which can be, seen. But in this case, in this verse, the quota does include that, but primarily the quota refers to one's nature, understanding what one's nature is, and acting accordingly, not trying to imitate others. And then being satisfied with what comes from one's performance of one's activity within one's nature, so to speak. So one's nature, well, again, people have a hard time, devotees have a hard time also sometimes wondering. We talk about the weather, some of you in New Zealand and in Auckland, they say you have 4 seasons sometimes in one day. It's like winter in the morning, then it becomes like spring, then you get summer, and then you get all the seasons. It pours with rain and wind and so on. It's a very changeable climate. So in Kali Yuga, particularly, people's consciousness is often like the wind is changing constantly. They don't really move. Let's say situations are changing. Everything around us is changing. Because of economics, we're forced sometimes to accept an occupation which is really not necessarily a normal nature, but for the sake of money, we do it, or we go somewhere else, or whatever it is, marry someone who's not compatible. So many incompatibilities are there in this age, which make it, or we're educated against our nature. Somebody once says, what do you want to do? And they say, I want music. Parents may like it, they may not, but oftentimes they say, well, that's not good. You can't get a decent job like that. You got to do something like engineering, become a doctor or something, IT specialist, music. What are you going to do with music? You're still on the roadside, going to be a busker or what? They can't, doesn't fit most people. Some people can become successful, but very rarely do people become that successful at music. But or it might be something even more gross. What do you want to do? Mum says to us, what do you want to do? I want to be a garbage man or a dustbin man, emptying all the garbage. Oh, I said to my mother, I wanted to be a monk. She flipped out when I said that. She said, oh, talk such nonsense. That's nonsense, she said. Don't talk such nonsense. I was about 12 when I told her that. She goes, oh, that's rubbish. If to her, it's like, not at all what they want. They want something prestigious in the material sense of the term. But that may not be your nature at all. Nature, when you're peaceful with whatever the results are from what you get, can be one thing. That you don't become agitated or irritated by the circumstances around us when they don't go the way we want. You're comfortable, basically self-satisfied in what one's doing. One doesn't need more. One accepts one's lot as being whatever Krishna gives us. Maybe some indicators, as well as the obvious natural proclivities that we may see, that we may have, may indicate a little bit about our nature. And as far as our quota beyond that is concerned, well, we depend on Krishna. And the best thing is, no matter what we get, is we offer it to Krishna. We don't sort of start thinking, now I'm, getting very successful. Let me stash away more and more and more for me. Give Krishna $1 or $2 a week. That's very nice. And $10,000 for ourselves. And that's not the idea. What is favorable? The quote is, what is favorable for wholesome lives, for spiritual material lives? What is required to maintain that peace and harmony, balance within our mind and body? What is our quota? But in Kali Yuga, it's a fact. The details are sometimes very hard to they get covered over very easily. We can't see what is really our nature, what is really in our best interest. Education system is meant actually to help people to understand their nature, to understand their deep nature, even though it's karmic, it's much deeper than the one on the surface. To understand much deeper what I should do in life. And oftentimes we are preached against what we should normally do by modern society. Our parents or educators, social pressures and so on may be very strong, very strong. If in doubt, chant Hare Krishna and try to use everything for Krishna, whatever we're doing, even if we're not feeling very well situated. Carry on chanting, where our hearts will become cleansed, so easier to see our real business, and try to offer everything to Krishna, whatever fruits we can. Let's see. How to remain focused on the goal of life, which is Krishna consciousness, and acting for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. Many times I get distracted from the goal. Please can you guide? Yes, this is very common, Prabhupada, very common. Everybody goes through this at different times. And that's why we have sadhana. Of course, we know that even in the performance of our sadhana, when we're chanting and attending program, etc., mind will wander, but we keep it there. Keep bringing it back to the focus of sadhana, hearing and chanting about Krishna, depending on which service we're in, which level we're in, etc., etc. But one of the major factors involved here is regular association and hearing. Hearing in the association of those who are more steady or focused. That's why we should listen to Prabhupada's lecture tapes, if you can get hold of them on your mobile or computer or whatever you've got. Try to listen to Srila Prabhupada's lectures regularly. Hear from somebody who is completely focused. They don't have neither an ulterior motive nor a focus other than Krishna's pleasure. So when we hear from them, it helps us to become step by step more focused. Even though the mind wanders off, we can bring it back again. Say it's like Arjuna's mind was wandering off on the battle of Kurukshetra, really mega wandering, really going off. And Krishna then took the role of Arjuna's intelligence and got him back on course again. By association, we have to hear our intelligence becomes bewildered and our mind runs away somewhere. So we have to sharpen our intelligence. Prabhupada said, by reading his books, you sharpen your intelligence. That can also apply to being with those who are more focused and hearing from them. Association, important fact. And if you don't have it physically, online you can get this. Maybe it's not quite as good, I don't know, but it's the best alternative in these days and ages for many people. Online hearing regularly, we have to hear more, hear the philosophy from the right source. The secret to that one. Next one. How do we identify unnecessary expenditure when we are engaged in serving the Lord in the temple, like purchase of expensive ornaments, flowers, etc.? This is well, is that indicating Kaviti, is that indicating that you have a lot of wealth or something? In most temples, you're struggling to even get the basics done. But if you do have maybe your own money or there is money around, well, that's why we have, you should say, in any structure, any society, there is some kind of order there, usually anyway, at least in animal societies, there even. But there should be some kind of structure, some kinds of checks and balances. We consult, we discuss, but the discussion should be with knowledge, and we may not have that knowledge. Therefore, we have like treasurer. The treasurer should know all the future expenses. He should know experiences from the past on this thing and that thing, knowing exactly how much we have now, and as much. He should have the most knowledge on the financial situation. But generally we sit and discuss. If you want to buy something, or you think we should buy something like a golden earring or something, you sit down and discuss. And you know, as I said in the beginning, we don't do it first and discuss afterwards. So say the golden ring costs, golden earring costs 10,000. You got ringgit there. You got ring it. So say it costs 100,000 ringgit. You don't just see the money's in the box or in the safe, and you just spend it all. And then then the other devotees come along. What's for prasadam today? And you say, oh, we had no money to buy any food today. We spent it all on Krishna's golden earrings. That's definitely a case of misspending. So we have to see things should be balanced accordingly. And if we don't have the intelligence to see it, we meet together, discuss, or we take advice from others. We don't act on sentiment. We don't act on our own perspective. Everyone has their own perspective. It's going to be quite chaotic. There has to be some thread there to know what is the overall balance, what is the overall best usage of whatever facilities we may have. That's why we have in any society, Brahmins are supposed to give that guidance anyway. But in our own movement, we usually have meetings and maybe some GBC or national secretaries or temple presidents giving examples, but who are supposed to be able to ascertain what is the best usage of the various assets that may be available. They may make mistakes. We all make mistakes, no doubt about that. But the focus should always be coming back to understanding how it's best to be utilized by having direction from above, from those who know more, those who have more intelligence. Any more? Why should one give in charity? What should be the purpose of giving charity, and who should we give charity to? Well, in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Bhagavatam, it is explained charity in the various modes of nature. Understanding, because today we're on a track of understanding that everything belongs to Krishna. And Prithu Maharaj, we could use this example as an excuse not to give. Because Prithu Maharaj says, actually, I can't give you anything because everything belongs to you already. So when someone comes and asks you, I can't give you anything, everything belongs to you already. Of course, then you say, okay, then I'll take it. If it belongs to me, I'll just take it anyway, even if you don't give it to me. So if you maintain such a mentality, what benefit do we get? None. We get none. In fact, you get negative result. If you don't give, and you think it's mine, or you think, everything belongs to them anyway, they can simply take it if they want. But this is for our own purification. Krishna is very pleased when he sees it. Like if you have children, you have your 2 boys, and when they were younger, maybe not now, I don't know. But when they were younger, sometimes you get that. You give the son a bar of chocolate, and then the son breaks some of the chocolate off and shares it with you. It may sound very simplistic, but you feel very happy when the son does that. It's a loving reciprocation. Krishna is looking for love. He doesn't need our chocolate or our money. He's looking for our love. And this is how that loving relationship starts to begin. Like if it's a child offering a piece of chocolate, when somebody offers, some of their money, if not all of it, they may need some for their family maintenance, obviously. But when they offer it, they get tremendous benefit because the Brahmin offers it to Krishna, and you get the benefit for that offering. So it's a very, very beneficial thing. Plus, especially for everyone in this, to the matter, everybody, when you give something like this, if you give it to a person, it's described there in the Shastras, isn't it? When you just give it to a person just like that, careless or whatever, you're giving something away. It's no doubt about that. You may be giving a little bit in the mode of ignorance or whatever. You may get some just balanced return when you give to somebody who's in like a Brahmin or whatever, and you get lots more returns because they're meant to use it for Krishna. When you give it to a Vaishnava who, with love and devotion offers it to Krishna, and you get unending returns because that's the gateway of opening up our Krishna conscious journey back to Godhead. So, and on then the other side of it, when we give, we're very attached to our wealth and our property and our family. And Prithu Maharaj gave everything. He said, nothing is mine. My kingdom, my horses, my elephants, my family, my wealth, everything belongs to you. I offer it all to you. And then what happens? Krishna gives back much more. Krishna reciprocates much more. And you feel happy. This is a part of our duty also, our quota, is that in one sense we offer everything to Krishna, and then Krishna offers everything back, more or less. There's a very nice reciprocation. And the Grihastha particularly helps to get a little freed from envy and possessiveness and jealousy and miserliness and so on. Any kind of charity is a beginning for some people, but the highest charity is to offer it in the service of Krishna, not in the mode of goodness. The mode of goodness is better than passion and ignorance. The mode of passion, you want to be recognized, you want some return for your offering. In the mode of ignorance, you're just kind of giving begrudgingly or whatever. In the mode of goodness, you're offering without any expectation of return. You're offering according to Shastric injunctions as to how various charities should be given, etc. So different modes are based basically upon our own consciousness, not so much upon the giving aspect, but upon our consciousness. And the transcendental one is to give to Krishna. And Krishna is very pleased, very pleased. But just to develop this mood, it helps us to develop this mood of, nothing is mine. Nothing is mine. Little children should be taught to give charity, but at the same time guided, because they will have no discrimination, but they should be guided. That's why a lot of times we see, especially Indian mothers, when they want to give a donation, they bring their little tiny son over to the donation box, and with his hand they put the money in the box. It helps. And we had the same thing as Christians. We used to put it in the bag. So some of the boys would put their hand in with it and take money out of the bag, but that's not a good idea. But the mood of giving, the mentality of giving, the soul's business is to love and to give and to serve. And consequently, you will also get and you'll also be loved and you'll also be served. But the primary thing that, from our perspective, is to give, love, and serve. Yeah. Then Krishna's pleased, and you can advance. Krishna will take away the anarthas in our heart. How do we identify unnecessary expenditure? We've read that one. I've read the next one too. Anything else? Well, thank you all very much. And Nrsimhadev Chaturdasi will be up in 10 days or something. So get yourselves ready for the wonderful appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev and start studying the Bhagavatam, 7th canto, or something about Lord Nrsimhadev. And so we can become more absorbed. By the mercy of Lord Nrsimhadev, the obstacles on our path can be removed. There are beautiful prayers in that regard by Prahlad Maharaj and 5th canto Bhagavatam also. Oh, there's another one here. Yesterday was Madhavi's birthday. I'm sorry, Madhavi, I did not send you a message. Yesterday was Madhavi in Sydney, her birthday. Please give her your blessings so that she may continue in her service to Srila Prabhupada and Sri Radha Gopinath. All blessings, everyone, to Madhavi, who's doing such nice, such wonderful service for us here. Even in New Mayapur, she's helping us so much. Thank you so much, Madhavi. And we really look forward to seeing you and your family again very soon. You're living in Sydney. Wherever you are, we send you our best wishes and hope that this the situation will be favorable to our Krishna consciousness, whatever Krishna wants. We try to accept that without getting upset, tolerate without being disturbed. It's easier when we're rightly situated, of course. But we hope that this year there will be some opening up will come about. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Excuse me, I'm going to change the tune a little bit. I didn't get a tune. In fact. Just kind of singing. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Gauranga, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Nityananda, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna no, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everybody, from Fiji to New Zealand, to Australia, to Philippines, to Malaysia, to Singapore, to India, to Hong Kong, to Russia, to Denmark, to Germany, to Czech, to Slovakia, to France, to Holland, to England, to Northern Ireland, to Scotland, to America, to anywhere else we've forgotten. I'm sure we've missed somebody out there. We apologize to you if we haven't mentioned your home. Our real home is the spiritual world. Although we do have identity with our places of birth, maybe, but we have to learn, or if we want to, that is, we don't have to. Krishna gives us free will, but it behooves us to act in such a way that we can start to identify our place of home as being the spiritual world. So when we give charity to those who are representing that spiritual world, that helps tremendously. Krishna then removes the anarthas from our hearts, the sinful reactions, etc., so that gradually our consciousness becomes clear and we can start to, let's say, at least work towards it, or think about it sometimes, or accept that that's our goal. Something at least hopefully will start taking place in our dark hearts by the mercy of the pure devotees of the Lord. Hare Krishna. Well, thank you all much. We will say goodbye, good night, good whatever it is, out of the darkness into the light. Hare Krishna, Hare Bo. Anybody there?
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Bo, Philippines. It's so nice.
Thank you very much, Gurudev.
Filipino devotees with us today.
This is so.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bo from Denmark.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Australia, and there's
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
So many nice countries there in India. Hare Krishna, everyone. Lord Srila Prabhupada, Hare Bo.
Krishna.
Unmute.